Hey everyone, Editor Bison here. So originally this was supposed to be a Halloween video, but then life got in the way, depression got in the way, I started biting too hard to system it down. I partied a bit too hard for him, and then the incident happened. I think all of you people in America know what I'm talking about, but don't worry, I think all of us need a good laugh right now, so that's why I'm releasing this video now, 2 months late, because despite all of the shit going on in the world, there is one silver lining to all of this. The next Green Day album is going to be completely lit, I mean, come on! Well, hello there. You know, I really think something's missing here. I mean, it's October, and this room just looks so bland. It's not spooky enough, you know? So if you give me a minute, just using the power of video magic, I'm going to magically make this place a million times spookier. So 3, 2, 1... Right, now this is much better, isn't it? Now, you join me on this fine October evening. Rain pounding against the window, the occasional hoot or shriek of an owl as it screams by, flying deep into the night. On this night of all nights, something spooky is afoot. A ghost in the machine. A phantom of computers. Here, on this fine night, we shall be discussing one of my personal favourite video games of all time. That being the first Portal game. Now, this video will not be a review of Portal per se, if that wasn't obvious by the title. Reviews of Portal have cropped up all over this website since the game was released 17 years ago. 17 years! Christ almighty, I'm getting old. What I'm trying to say via this mild existential crisis is that if you want to watch a review of Portal, then go to literally any other corner of the internet. Go watch the Zero Punctuation episode of it, because Yahtzee is the only review you should trust these days. Don't believe me? Watch this video about review bias, linked in the description, and then come back to me. Anyway, this video will be following the theme of Spooky Month. Yes, I know I'm late. We shall be talking about a smaller part of this game that I don't think a lot of people have touched on, unless Richter Overtime has covered this subject. I'm still waiting for you to email me back, Richter. Don't think I've forgotten. This subject in particular is horror. Now, of course, when people think of Portal, they think comedy. Black comedy, to be precise. Both games have this tag on Steam, and both games have a lot of moments that made me laugh throughout the many hours I've spent bossing both of these games. But this comedy has always felt off to me. There's something really weird about the entirety of Aperture Science, more so in the first game than the second. Throughout the game there are little nods and small features that seem innocuous on their first playthrough, but when you actively take a step back and just watch the game, then you'll notice that there's something really off about this place. Where are the humans? What's that ominous humming? Why is that damn radio music starting to get on my nerves? I've heard it for the past 3 hours, and I usually love this piece of music, but why does it play on every fucking level? And oh my god, the sample rate is getting on my tits. Please just shut up! I'm fine, it's just a silly game. So in this video we'll be covering the areas of Portal that are oddly creepy to me. So without further ado, let's celebrate this, the spookiest of months, and talk about Portal and horror. Now, the first thing I want to cover in this video is the feeling of isolation. Now, from the very start of the game, it is inherently apparent that you are completely alone. Aside from the robotic voice coaching you throughout the test chambers, there is no one. You wake up in your cell, completely alone, aside from a radio and the toilet. In fact, looking at what is supposedly an observation window shows that there is no one there. No clipping into the area. There's no one, just a computer and an empty office chair. And the stasis area isn't the only example of this. Throughout the test chambers, there are empty observation chambers everywhere, and they're all empty. Now, the soundtrack to this game can be charitably described as minimalistic, and at worst as completely absent. And the almost complete lack of OST really adds to this feeling of isolation that the game sets up oh so perfectly. Most of the soundscape you'll hear throughout your journey through Aperture is the occasional mysterious mechanical sound or the buzzing of fluorescent lightings coming from seemingly nowhere. Now, as well as the isolation aspect of this game, there is another thing adding to the feeling, and that is hinting at being populated. Now, it's clear that at one point or another this facility was thriving with people, but now all those people are gone. One of the best examples of this would be the dens belonging to Doug Ratman. Now, warning, this next part will go a little bit into the lore of both Portal games, so spoilers if you haven't played them already. Also, I recommend reading the Portal 2 Lab Rat graphic novel as it outlines the story of Doug Ratman very well. Doug Ratman was an employee employee at Aperture Science. Now, he was a giftedly intelligent man, but also a paranoid schizophrenic, with him needing to take pills in order to quell the voices in his head. Now, Doug was working throughout both the development of the Portal gun and GLaDOS, who of course is the main antagonist of the Portal series. All of this is shown to us in the Portal 2 side comic entitled Lab Rat, which features Doug as the protagonist. Now, of course, he was around for the GLaDOS incident. We find out in Portal 2 that the GLaDOS project was initially brought about because then Aperture CEO Cave Johnson was dying from moonrock poisoning. His idea was quoted as, "If we can store music on a compact disc, then why can't we store a man's intelligence on one?" Unfortunately, Cave passed away before the development of GLaDOS was fully complete, and in his will, the torch of Aperture was passed to his assistant and lover, Carolyn. It was also written into his will to have her put inside the GLaDOS machine. Obviously it took a while, but by the time she was finished, we had taken 2 months before the first Portal game. As soon as GLaDOS was turned on for the first time, she went kill crazy and flooded the facility with deadly neurotoxin. Doug somehow survived the incident, leaving himself and the test subjects in stasis as the sole survivors. Due to the incident, Doug was running out of his pills, and he befriended a companion cube that he imagined to be alive. Although, I speculate if he was imagining or not, as throughout Portal 1 and 2, the companion cubes are rumoured to be sentient. As the comic progresses, we see Doug go deeper and deeper into madness, going so far as to scrawl on the walls crazed ramblings that we can find in-game, even going so far as to fall in love with the companion cube that he befriended. Towards the end of the comic, Doug sees Chell destroy GLaDOS and also prevents a party associate bot from hurting her. In the process, he gets injured and he places Chell into the motel stasis room that we see at the beginning of Portal 2. He himself climbs into a stasis chamber to rest, and Doug's fate is ultimately left ambiguous. So why did I go on this random tangent about some character? Well, I did all of that establishing shit to get some context for these rooms. Throughout the story of Portal, we can find Doug's hideouts. They are often covered in crazed ramblings and graffiti, as well as pictures of people with companion cubes crudely stuck over their heads. These rooms will often be signposted by a help message, seemingly written in Doug's blood. They're quite creepy to look at, and show the unfortunate downfall of a man who flew too close to the sun and got burned. The one that stands out to me the most is the one in this test chamber. There are destroyed cameras everywhere and a set of login details. Using the Wayback Machine, we can go to an archive of ApertureScience.com from 2007, around the time of the game's release. We type in the credentials, followed by the command, "The cake is a lie," and from there, we see this dialogue supposedly left by Ratman. "When was the last time you left the building? Has anyone left the building lately? I don't know why we're in lockdown, I don't know who's in charge. I did find out a few things, like these terminals don't have to tap out characters one at a time. While we're all working on 20-year-old equipment, somehow they can afford to build an enrichment center. Check the security feed. Whatever the hell a relaxation vault is, it doesn't have any doors. I don't think going home is part of our job description anymore. If a supervisor walks by, press return." All of this comes together to create a feeling of intense and crippling loneliness, and it's one of the #1 things that makes the first Portal game so creepy. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is Portal's sound design. Now, as I stated earlier, I think, the soundtrack to this game is a light presence throughout most of the game, only really coming in when something really important is going on or when a new game mechanic is introduced. The first thing I want to talk about in this section is sound design. Everything from the visceral punch of the portal gun firing to the subtle buzz that emanates from the test chamber sign, every sound in this game gels together perfectly to create this oddly creepy soundscape. All of these noises would be noises that you'd hear in a normal office setting: the buzz of old lights, the footsteps of co-workers, the distant music of your co-workers listening to Barry Manilow. This is what video games do to people, etc. But when all of the other sounds that you would expect to hear are taken away, that being people talking, it suddenly becomes creepy. And most times, whenever the soundtrack does decide to come out of its man cave, most of what it does is add to this creepy feeling. The Portal soundtrack is mysterious and almost ethereal, all adding to the clinical feeling of this facility that we found ourselves trapped in. What the fuck? How am I here?
It's got some memory left in it.
What the hell? fucking weird. Why did I wake up here? I don't even remember like, going here. What the fuck is going on? It's so fucking dumb. Ah! Is that a fucking body? Why does it look like me? This is so fucked up. What do I do? What do I do? Think, Bison. What would you do if you discovered a body in the woods really late at night? The police aren't gonna fucking believe me if I tell them I just found it. Fuck, what do I do?